everybody. I'm Diane Sears, and I am the Central Florida Director for WeBEC. You all know us as WeBEC Florida. So I want to tell you a little bit about our organization and what we do, and then pass it around and have some of my colleagues talk about what we're doing here too. So WeBEC is one of three flags of the Women's Business Development Council of Florida, which is based in Miami. You all know us as the Women's Business Enterprise Council of Florida, which is a regional partner organization with the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. So someone was just asking me the other day about 2 years ago, was it maybe a year ago? WeBEC was rebranded under the whole structure. So all of us all across the country, all of the regional partner organizations are all now part of the WeBank name with just the N missing. So we're WeBEC Florida, and we welcome you here. Today, we also want to tell you a little bit about our two other banners. One is called the Growth Shift, and that is to help your business through all kinds of different growth stages. So whether you have just started, you are getting ready to start, or you are looking to grow, or you're looking to even think about when you might exit, that is what that banner is all about. And we're putting on all kinds of programming for that. And then the other banner is the Nancy G banner, and that's Nancy G. Allen. It's named after our CEO. And that is all about helping you as a business leader get to be where you want to be. So it's a little bit more personal coaching. It's all about a little bit more professional growth. And we offer all kinds of services. So whatever you need as a woman business owner, we are here to help you along that journey that you're taking right now. So today we're here to talk about international business, and it's very exciting because we have some special guests. Some of them are my very, very dear friends. I have to say, I guess all of them are my dear friends. With that, I'd love to introduce our esteemed guest, Susan Harper. I know, Susan, you might not be able to be with us for the whole time, but if you could introduce yourself, and we're so glad you're here, so pleased.
Well, thank you very much. I'm really honored to be included today, as I'm really not the main show. I'm the warm-up, I guess, for the panel of three experts in international business. And I myself have been in an international business role for many years, largely with the government of Canada, but doing all sorts of international trade activity, trade negotiations, business development, trade regulations. I worked on export controls and trade advocacy, because international trade is not always popular with people, especially people who don't understand how important it is to the economy. For example, 1 in 5 jobs in Florida comes from international trade. And of course, I'm here to give a bit of an ad to Canada, because most people in Florida say, oh yes, I know some Canadian snowbirds, and maybe not this winter, but usually I see them. But they don't always realize how much business we actually do in Florida. If you look at imports, exports, goods, services, investment, and residential real estate. And if you look at all of those things, Canada has an enormous footprint here in Florida. And it doesn't always seem like you're doing international business when you're dealing with us, but you are, and it's our pleasure to be doing this. And may I also say, one of the advantages of my job is that I have seen how important it is for women and others underrepresented groups in international trade to be certified. It is Pride Month. The National Gay and Lesbian Chamber held their big event here 2 years ago. And again, certification. And there was some overlap with some of the other people who were there. Certification for visible minorities, certification for Indigenous business, certification for LGBTQ2, and certification for women. It just means so much. And that's what I have seen from my job. And again, I can only stress that, and the fact that in my experience, it's the kind of relationships that you can get working with, well, people like Nancy Allen and Diane Sears, both of whom I've met in other women organizations and who have those kind of connections. And I've just had the pleasure of meeting Linda Pereira now, but I've worked with both Chris Leggett and Ximena Pauvif-Machado. Ximena works with me now, and actually Chris and I had the chance to work together in another life. And these are people who are devoted to trade and who understand how having the relationships and the knowledge and the certifications can really make a difference. So I'm just doing a drum roll to really emphasize that this is a good way to spend an hour of your time today. And if you can build some relationships, even through Zoom, and hear some of the connections that these people on the panel can offer, we've seen it work for people. So I'm a big fan of both the individuals and of the organizations that back that certification and help women make those important connections. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. And before Susan became Consul General of the Miami Consulate, her predecessor, Louise Leggett, was a big friend of ours as well. So the really interesting thing is once you make these connections and these friendships, they just keep coming back, and you run into each other all over the world, and it's really fun. Next, I'd like to, Nancy, would you like me to introduce everyone individually and then you'll start working on the panelists, or how would you like to do that?
Yeah, I think that's great. Go ahead.
Okay, so if we can have, Ximena, why don't you introduce yourself since you are connected with Susan? That would be great. And then we'll go to Linda and Chris.
And so my name is Ximena Pauvif-Machado. I am a trade commissioner here at the Consulate General of Canada. I focus on a few priority sectors, life sciences, defense, but one of my passions is the Women in Business file. And basically what I do, my mandate is really to help Canadian companies that are looking to export, hence why I'm on here, their products and services to Florida, Puerto Rico, and US Virgin Islands, but I also help connect American companies to Canadian companies, and I also help to attract foreign direct investment into Canada. So I'm happy to be here and share what I've learned over the 13 years I've been here.
All right, thanks. And Linda, we would love to hear from you all the way from Portugal.
Almost 6:30 in the evening, and at the end of my rather long day, which started at 6 in the morning in a conference call with Macau in China. So it's exactly that. As an entrepreneur, I have a seat on the Portuguese Business Confederation. I am one of 2 women among 65 men association leaders. But through the Portuguese Business Confederation, we have a seat on the European Business Europe Confederation, which brings together 35 countries across the European Union and brings together the confederations which represent all the sectors in each country. So it's rather a lot. It's almost 380 million across the European Union. So yes, I can connect you and I work through the Business Confederation. But most of all, first and foremost, I'm a business consultant and I am an entrepreneur myself.
And do you want to talk about your conference that's coming up?
Yes, I was thinking I might do it later, but yes,
okay.
Of course. But I can just give you a shout out now because I've already put a note in the chat. Every year, we are part of a worldwide movement called Women Helping Women. It was born in Davos a few years ago. And this movement of Women Helping Women launched a series of conferences called Women of Wisdom. And so we organized one. We organized one alternatively, 1 year in the English language and 1 year just for the Portuguese speaking world. And we are a lot. Okay, we are a lot. We're almost 380 million, okay, speaking Portuguese around the world. And but it's in English this year. And it brings together women who have wisdom or know-how in different skill sets, marketing and communication, business acceleration, finance, whatever. And their only gift is to share their knowledge voluntarily with all the other women who are participating in the conference. So it's a knowledge exchange platform. And so not only do we learn from other women present, but we also contribute to the pot with knowledge. And the conference is this year from 19th to 22nd of June. And this year you can participate online or live. Live, we are more restricted. As you know, we have a limit of numbers because everyone has around the world because of COVID, but you can participate online. And if anybody wants to know anything about the conference or speak at the conference, you still have time because I'm very agile and I can still change the program. My email is in the chat, so find me in the chat and my email, but I'll pop it in again. And thank you, Diane, for giving me this moment to talk about the conference.
Oh, thank you, Linda. We're so pleased you're here.
I'm
And now,
noisy.
now we'd like to hear from Chris Leggett, and who's in Orlando here with me.
Thanks very much, Diane, and thank you for having invited me today. My name is Chris Leggett. I am the program manager at the Central Florida International Trade Office, where we help small businesses understand the benefits and realize the benefits of international trade. And I would note, I talk about trade, not just exports. There's a tendency to focus on exports as being the only way for companies to benefit, but imports are very important as well for companies, small businesses in particular, to grow and to manage risk. And we can talk a little bit about that later, but I'm very grateful that our sponsors, we're a nonprofit, and our sponsors recognize the value of both imports and exports. And so we can help through one-on-one counseling, through hosting workshops. We've been doing webinars over the past year, but I'm looking forward to getting back to some in-person events, but to talk about different markets, about different sectors, and how they can benefit from international trade. So I'm always happy to come and proselytize for international trade, and I'm glad to be joining you to do that today.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Well, those were our introductions. And now I want to hand it over to Nancy to work with our panel.
Great. Thank you so much, Diane. And thank you to our panelists, and especially to Consul General Susan Harper for being with us. I also would just like for all of you listening to keep an open mind, right? The idea of international trade for a lot of small businesses, for women business owners in particular, sometimes seems very daunting, right? But, and as Chris mentioned, it's not just export, import, it's also services. It's also just being open to opportunities. And I'd just like to give a plug for Canada, right? So Canada is our neighbor to the north. We have a pretty open border with Canada, right? And we do lots of trade. And in a minute, Ximena can probably give us some of those statistics of how much trade we actually engage in with Canada. But if you're looking to dip your toes in the international world, Canada is a really great place to start. We're close in proximity. We speak the same language. It's something to really, really consider. And if you haven't considered international trade, the fact that you have a website is step one, right? Because your website is available internationally and you can start doing some business or think about starting to do some business internationally. So with that, we'll start with the panel questions. We have 3 questions for our panelists. You heard them introduce themselves, so we'll dispense with that. But I'll start off with the first question, and I'll ask that directly to Ximena. If you'll just provide us some updates on opportunities that people can take advantage of now.
Nancy. So I'm thinking of, if I'm speaking to my Canadian clients, and you know, I think it's mostly Americans that are on this Zoom. So if somebody wanted to ask me the question that Nancy just did, I would say some advantages for you to take now immediately would be something like you're on right now, a free virtual seminar, networking with like-minded organizations. I have found, I don't know if you would agree with me, but I think most of the world obviously is online right now, and everybody's really open to connecting online. You know, you can't do it in person. It's not really the same over the phone. So this is a great medium for us to take advantage of the situation. And, you know, as Linda is on this webinar, I would have never met Linda unless I was at some, you know, international women's conference. And this is just a great example of how you can expand your network worldwide. You don't have to think right now just locally or just state level or national. We have to take advantage of the opportunities we have. And with the pandemic, I would say that one of the best things that's come out of it is my worldwide connections have increased so much. And that's usually by attending virtual conferences, whether it's something in defense, for example, that usually happens in Tampa in May for the US Special Ops Forces, as an example. I usually go to that and I meet local contacts. These past 2 years have been virtual. I've met people from all over the world that I've added to my network, and then I connect them to my colleagues at embassies or consulates around the world. So I would say definitely take advantage of, you know, free virtual seminars and networking. I would also say mostly a focus for the American business women on here is to take advantage of the tools and services that you have right now. So many services like the US Commercial Service, which is our counterpart. I'm with the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service, but you all have the US Commercial Service, which is almost exactly what we do. They help American businesses to export their products and services to other countries. They give you market intelligence. They help you make connections. There's the Small Business Administration programs. And there's also Exim Bank. Exim Bank is similar to Canada's Export Development Bank. And basically, I'll give you a quick stat. In the 2019 report, Exim Bank reported that American Express found that 40% of all US businesses, that's about 13 million companies, are women owned. So 13 million companies are, you know, 40% are women owned, but only of those 40%, only 15% of US businesses that are owned by women participate in export. So that's a huge opportunity for you ladies to take. You know, like Nancy said at the beginning, it doesn't have to be products. It could be services as well. And Canada and Florida have a lot of services that go back and forth. And also we know that 95% of global consumers live outside the US. And it's a fact that US companies, similar to Canada, who export, grow faster and are less likely to go out of business than those companies who don't export. So, you know, that's just another statistic for you to open your mind and think about exporting your products or services. The staff at Exim Bank are great. I've worked with them before. I've met them at a conference, Go for the Greens, that Diane and Nancy and Steph are all involved in, and Joanna. You know, and last year, as an example, in fiscal year 20, they authorized more than $335 million in financing to businesses, which are owned by minorities and women. So I would say use those free tools that you have. Also, another quick tip I have is go to municipalities. A lot of them have supplier diversity, but even if they don't, they have vendor supplier portals that you can sign up for, and it's, you know, it's free information. They'll put you on the registered authorized vendor list. You'll get an RFP, you'll get an RFI in your email box, and, you know, like business is coming right at you. And then, of course, being that we're talking about export, you know, really think about exporting and look to partner with, you know, you don't have to export a product or service immediately. You can connect with, for example, a Canadian partner. Yeah, it could be a like-minded partner. It could be a complementary service. You know, if you do marketing and they do graphic design, that's a natural fit. So I can help connect you to partners like that. So don't be afraid to explore export opportunities, whether it's products or services, and partner or collaborate. Be open to partnering and collaborating with other women-owned businesses. So I'll stop there, Nancy. I don't want to take too much time.
No, that's beautiful. And really important tips, right? And as you said, Ximena, the first step is establishing that relationship, right? And through you, they can establish, our members can start establishing relationships. So thank you very, very much. And the very sobering statistics that you gave, 40% of women-owned businesses, but only 15% participate in export. So we don't want you to be outside that 15%, right? We want you to be included in those really great statistics. So Chris, how about you? What are some updates on any opportunities that people can take advantage of now?
Thanks, Nancy. The first thing I considered when reflecting on this question is what makes now different than other times when it comes to exporting or importing. And I think something we've learned through COVID is how fragile are the links in globalization that in terms of the supply chain really broke down early on in COVID, and in many ways it hasn't recovered since then. So which leads me to one of the first points I would make is if you haven't done so already, now is really a great time to be looking at your supply chain. What's worked? Have you had any problems? Are there ways it can be improved on? And one of the big issues that I think everyone is dealing with is that need for diversification. You don't want to be dependent on just one single supplier. Similarly, you won't want to be dependent on a single market. It also follows that you don't want to be dependent on a single buyer. Sometimes that can be really great for your company if you've got somebody buying everything that you can produce, but that's a danger, because if they have a bad year, then you're going to have a really bad year. And so you really want to diversify your supplies and your markets. Look at the number of potential suppliers that you have. When you're looking at markets, two of the statistics I always try and share is that 95% of the world's population and 75% of global wealth is outside the United States. So these are huge markets that you really can't ignore. Obviously, it's not going to work for every type of business. If you have a restaurant, unless you're interested in franchising, well, it's not something that you can easily export. But so many people are already engaged in exports and might not know it. Obviously, one of the things that Central Florida is very well known for is our tourist industry. We have over 6.5 million foreign tourists coming to the Orlando area every year, other than when we experience something like we have over the past year with COVID. But if you're a restaurant selling to tourists, you're an exporter. So you have to think a bit more broadly about what exports mean. But as I was saying, look at your supply chain. Look where there might be opportunities, because you know there's other people are having problems in the supply chain. If you have contacts, say, in China who have access to technology that people are looking for here, but having a really hard time to source, this is a perfect time to double down on that and really take advantage of those connections that you have in order to access these new opportunities that have come out of COVID. Another thing you might want to be looking at right now in terms of determining which markets you want to go to is obviously you want to look at the economics in the market. Are they recovering? Are they still hurting? But in thinking about it, you might also want to take a look at where there is a higher rate of COVID vaccination. As we've experienced here in the US with vaccination, you start seeing more and more people getting out, buying things, buying services. And so if you see a high rate of COVID vaccination, that's really somewhere that you want to look at doing business in. Think also beyond just the easy markets. Canada and Mexico, because of the US, Mexico-Canada agreement, there are going to be lots of opportunities there. It's a great place to get your feet wet. But think about where you have an advantage as well. I mean, if your family is originally from Colombia, think about Colombia. Florida has natural advantages in accessing the Caribbean, South, Central America. So these are things we really need to take advantage of and will help your business grow. And then finally, think about imports. You need to manage risks with them. They can help potentially make your product more competitive or meet a demand here that exists. So those are some of the ideas that apply universally, but are probably even more important coming out of COVID.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris. Really great advice. And Linda, how about you? What are some opportunities that people can take advantage of now from your perspective?
It's interesting because when you come in third place, everybody seems to have already said a lot of things, but I can still add, Chris and Ximena, I can still add. Okay, now, I don't look at my business or the world as having any barriers. Happily, we are privileged. We live in a world and an age where our clients are everyone, everywhere, at any time. So that's how I see the world. I don't think in terms of a world of barriers. I think that COVID has brought tremendous opportunities. I can give you a very tiny, silly example, which in the end is very profitable. For example, when the UK left the European Union and everybody was going to panic stations, I was thinking, wow, this is a great, because I have two passports. I have a Portuguese passport and a British passport. So I became the go-to person for British companies that want to stay connected with the European Union because they're outside it. So suddenly I had the opportunity of creating loads of endless partnerships with companies that through joint ventures or through partnerships, I can be their voice into the European Union. So there's always an opportunity in everything. It's about learning the methodology and how to go along with it. At the moment, COVID has given us an open window to the world. We're all sitting here in different countries and different areas, but we're all connecting. We're all open to doing business with each other. It's about knowing how to go about it. I'm a constant presence in these open windows because it's important to me to know how my potential clients and partners think. So I like to listen. How do they think? How do they see the world? How can I connect with them? How can I join them? How can I partner with them? Because I want to understand them. It's like finding a husband. Okay, you have to connect, you have to flirt, you have to meet, you have to chat up, and then you have to understand and think, is it worth it? Okay, so it's just the same as finding a husband. Okay, so it's really, really important. The European Union at the moment is providing tremendous amount, it's billions and billions, for recovery. What are they asking companies to do? They're asking companies to prove that they have the capacity to scale, that they have the capacity to internationalize, that they have the skills and the mindset of going beyond borders. They don't want to invest in people who think small, want to stay small, or want to stay in their corner, in their home. So this is a great opportunity for international companies to partner with European companies, micro companies, small companies, as Chris and Ximena both said, in complementary businesses or raw material suppliers or whatever, so that they can also benefit from these financial recovery funds. It's really good. We work digitally, so we work anywhere, with anywhere, and for anywhere. This week, I launched a new postgraduate course at university level in corporate diplomacy. exactly to help companies internationalize. And in corporate diplomacy, we have 9 nationalities of teachers. We have teachers from 9 different nationalities teaching online wherever they are in the world. So there is no barrier. The barrier is us. We are sometimes the lid on our own business, okay, because we refuse to think further. So I think that never before have there been so many opportunities to work with clients from anywhere. And I can tell you that in July and August, which, for example, for my sector, which is tourism and communication, in my sector, July and August are downtime. I cannot afford to let my staff go on holiday. I've never had more work than now because I've had work from places that we've never even thought of having work from. So we've got contracts with Georgia, Rwanda, Ghana, South Africa, Brazil, Peru, North America. These are all new contracts, and that we're going to be doing things from communication training, events, joint partnerships, business acceleration, consultancy, with all these, because they're moving, they're using the downtime, because we now, if any of us are in survival mode, we're in the wrong mode. We should have switched now to thriving mode. And if you're in survival mode, you've been doing it wrong, guys. All right. So we have to now go into thriving mode. And thriving mode is going beyond our neighborhood, beyond our corner, crossing the pond, speaking to like-minded people, as Chris said, connecting to people that we know and trust to help us to be the gateway or the door into different markets and new opportunities. I was talking with Ximena before everyone joined us, that Portugal has become the go-to place for people who want to live in a quieter place, a more traditional place, but to be able to work with anywhere in the world. We have the fastest internet in Europe. We're going into 5G mode very, very soon. I already have 5G available in my house. As soon as I get everything, the infrastructure is up. So you can be anywhere. You can be anywhere in the north of Portugal, the south, on the Azores Islands, on the Madeira Islands, and you can be doing business with America, with Canada, with France, with Africa, with anywhere. So let's think beyond what we are doing now and really go into thriving mode and do things like this. I'm going to be spending a week in Rwanda doing business acceleration. I'm going to be spending 2 weeks in August in Ghana. I'm going to be in South Africa in September. These are markets that are slow at the moment. They want to grow. They want to develop. What a great opportunity for us to be there on the first rung of the ladder. So opportunities now are always beyond our borders. If we stay home and just look at our front door, we're doing it wrong. Anyway, here's the challenge.
That's beautiful. And thank you so much, Linda, for that really great advice. And I want to remind everyone that WeBank and We Connect International are sister organizations, right? So We Connect International certifies women-owned businesses outside the borders of the United States. And what better time to get connected with We Connect, right? As Linda said, you have an opportunity to thrive, to go beyond the borders and to present something to a brand new market. We Connect International has operations in 70 countries around the world. And if you're looking to explore new markets, they are women-owned businesses just like you, looking to do business with other women-owned businesses. And here's an idea for those of you who have not thought about doing global work and think, well, I don't really have something that could be global. You have knowledge that can be global, okay? You have expertise, you have training, you have access, you have contacts, you have relationships that you have built. You can set that up as training and consulting and coaching. Yes. So think broadly that way. And I really encourage you to connect with We Connect. I'm going to ask one of my team members to put their link in the chat. I do some consulting for We Connect. I know them really, really well, and I can hook you up if you're interested in exploring more opportunities that way. All right, so our second question is, now that we are moving towards the post-pandemic, right? Please provide some tips on how we can take advantage of the current situation post-pandemic. And I'm going to start with Chris. What tips do you have to offer?
Well, I would say the first number one tip I would have would be to subscribe to I4 Business Magazine. Diane invited me, and I want to make sure I get invited to her events again. And it's actually a really great way to get to know the market here and what we have to offer. But in terms of international trade, this is a period of growth. So be ready for that. Don't be afraid to try to grow yourself, because if now is really the time that you'll be able to find those opportunities to grow. There's just such an increase in demand. And to be fair, that's not all over the world. I mean, some parts are growing really well. Some parts are having a harder time coming out of the COVID epidemic, and so they might not present the same opportunities right now. But then it's really a matter of time in terms of waiting. I'm not sure it's so much of a tip, but a request. In order to improve the conditions for trade, to help with U.S. market access, and for you to access imported components and goods, is to make sure you advocate for trade with your congressional delegation. Let them know what trade means for your business. Let them know where you're having problems accessing opportunities, and let them know where U.S. import requirements, regulations, policies, laws are having a very negative impact on your business. Because the only way that you'll ever see those changed is if you lend your voice to advocate for that change. A lot of what Susan and Ximena do here is to help politicians, decision makers, decision influencers to understand the impact of trade regulations on U.S. businesses. I mean, I've heard from Port Canaveral, from Port Tampa Bay, about the impact that higher steel and aluminum prices have had because of tariffs that have been imposed at the national level. So you really need to get out there and advocate for your businesses in order to be able to ensure that the best possible conditions for trade exist. Another, again, this is as we're reopening, another tip I would say to get engaged in international trade is to participate in trade shows. That's going to be probably the best way that you will get to meet people from around either the region, if it's a regional trade show, or from the world, if it's really got a global focus, to find out what your potential customer is looking for, to find out what potential suppliers exist, to find out if you have a booth there, to find out what kind of interest there is in your product. There's a lot of programs out there to help Florida businesses engage in international trade shows. Your company can get support if it produces in Florida. Doing a bit of an ad here for Enterprise Florida, but when we talk about a Florida company, it's somebody who has a presence here. It could be a company that's owned by a Canadian parent company. Doesn't matter, so long as it makes a product or delivers a service here in Florida and employs people in Florida, they'll be able to get support for participating in a Florida booth or in having your own booth at a trade show. Also, I would say another tip would be to get ready to travel to meet with customers. You really want to be the first person back in the market. This is a terrific opportunity we have here meeting by Zoom, but I think, as most of you can appreciate, people are getting zoomed out. A lot of other cultures in particular really value that face-to-face meeting. And so you want to be able to be back talking with them, reestablishing those in-person connections, making new ones. And in order to get ready for that, I mean, talk to people like Ximena, who is able to tell you what the conditions will be for access or getting back into Canada, for example, or whatever country that you're looking to travel to. It may not be particularly popular to talk about this, but regardless of your views, look at getting vaccinated for COVID, because a lot of the ability to travel is going to be dependent on whether you've been vaccinated, in addition to having that negative test. So that's why I say, get ready in advance for doing these things. And with that, there's lots of other tips, but I don't want to take away from Linda and Ximena's ability to have something to say.
Thank you so much, Chris. And one of the things you talked about reminds me to remind everyone listening about joining Women Impacting Public Policy. So WIP is an organization, it's a nonpartisan organization that really advocates for women in business to our US Congress. And they are an incredible organization, which, as Chris says, enables you to contact your Congress and let them know your feelings on different topics. International trade is a hot topic right now, and I know WIP is doing some work around that. So I'll ask one of our team members to put the link to Women Impacting Public Policy, and I really, really encourage you to join them, follow what they're doing, and their whole purpose, again, is to advocate on your behalf. So that your business is not adversely affected by what goes on in our US Congress. Okay, so Linda, can you give us one or two tips, and then I'll ask Ximena to do the same, and we'll see if we might have time for some questions from the audience.
Yeah, and it's like Chris said, it's about planning your tomorrow's success today. It's about starting to look at the success and what you want out of your next 3-4 years, and you start planning it today. It's about, we've come through a tremendous destabilizing change. We've been pushed forward 5 years, whether we like it or not. Someone shoved us 5 years forward. It will never be the same again. I live in a high-touch culture where it's all about meeting and chatting and cafes and sunshine and outdoors and making me go 2 hours in the car just for a 10-minute meeting. It's not the same. Nobody wants to do that anymore. So even culture has changed. All my CEOs want meetings online, and then maybe nearer the contract signing, then we'll talk about meeting face to face. It's completely changed. What we're not looking at anymore is just one way of doing business. So look at virtual trade shows. The platforms have changed drastically. It's about how creative, everybody zoomed out. Chris is right, but there are some absolutely amazing platforms. I'm trying to choose a platform now for an event that I have in October, and believe me, I'm having the sexiest of times looking at thousands of different platforms that allow me to do everything from gala dinners to have shows and actually virtually join the show. There are so many things. It's about being creative and having a creative mindset to keep meetings going and conversations going. I did everything I could. COVID did not stop me from talking to anyone, okay? But I was trying to be as creative as possible about the way. I'll give you examples. I would send the CEO a bottle of wine and say, we're meeting at 6. This is the wine for the meeting. And then we'd do like a little toast just at the end of the meeting. It's about being creative, okay? It really is. I think that we're zoomed out, but we're zoomed out because we're sick of boring people on boring meetings talking about boring things. Make it interesting, make it exciting, make it fun, okay? And then it'll be. But it is about looking at your company culture and reanalyzing it and restructuring it and reevaluating it. Look at your company culture, look at your staff, how this has affected your staff, and go into self-care mode of yourself and of your staff. How are your staff feeling? How do they want to continue working? Give them time to have in-office days and out-of-office days. All my young mothers are now doing 3 days live and 2 days from home. Try and analyze your culture, because the way that you feel inside is the way that you transmit outside. It's an opportunity for us to self-assess, assess our company culture, check the way that we are transmitting our company culture outwards, the way that our staff are engaging with our company culture, the way that that this has affected them, their lives, their families. It's about all sorts of things. We've actually repainted the whole place in a brighter, more cheerful color. We've got a person who comes in and does mindfulness meditation for 1 hour in the morning. That's how we start the day before our staff meetings. It's not just for fun, it's to get us into, so think about it. And then invest in digital wisely. Do not follow fads. Be wise, okay? Not everything that is out there is going to last, and not everything that is out there is, Facebook bad, LinkedIn good, okay? Think about where your business people are. They're not on Facebook. Think about where your clients are. Think about your web page. Make it fun, interesting, colorful, intuitive. Make it intuitive. Make yourself findable. Invest wisely. Do not go out and buy every single trick you can in the book. Be wise, but make yourself digital. I'll stop now, Nancy.
Thank you. Very, very great tips, Linda. Thank you. And Ximena, how about you? What tips can we take advantage of at the current situation post-pandemic?
So I agree with everything Chris and Linda said. Especially the conference part of it, look for the conferences that are coming up, whether they're in person or virtual. I think that's probably going to be your best thing post-pandemic. But the number one tip is any new contacts that you have that you've made over the past year, follow up with them, reach out to them. I can't tell you how many people I meet at conferences and then they never follow up. And you could lose a business opportunity. You could lose a great contact that had heard of another opportunity that would have benefited you, but you didn't follow up and they didn't think of you because, out of sight, out of mind. You want to be on top of, the first person that says, oh yeah, I met this PR person online last year. Let me reach out to them. Put it in your calendar if you have to, just 15 minutes a day if needed. That follow-up, and for me, social media, I spend a lot of time. I put in 30 minutes of social media a day. Yes, sometimes I skip it because I get busy, but I schedule it every day. And it's mostly LinkedIn, like Linda said. I don't, Facebook for me is personal. Nobody that I do business with is on my Facebook. That's for me to look at my nieces and nephews. LinkedIn is where the business happens. And for me, Twitter works too, because there's specific things that I focus on, and there's a lot of tweet chats that happen, and I like to share information. And I think sharing information is key as well. You don't always have to do business with somebody. If you give them information that helps them, they're going to remember you and they're going to pay it back. So I'll stop there because I know that you wanted to take questions.
Well, very, very, very good points, especially about being a solutions provider, right? And about keeping connected. And if our recent situations have taught us anything, it's the importance of connections and relationship building. So thank you all for these really, really great tips. I see we've reached the top of the hour. I just want to do a pulse check with the team to see if we had any burning questions. We're so happy that you all have joined us and have participated today, and hopefully we have given you some really great insights, some things to think about, and just some highlights. Remember, as Ximena said, only about 15 of women-owned businesses participate in export of some kind. And as I hope I planted a seed to tell you that you have lots that you can be doing just by your knowledge and your contacts that can be international trade and service related. So keep that in mind and call me if you need some ideas, because I'm sure I can help you. You know, from Chris, we heard to look at your supply chain and the importance of diversifying your suppliers, right? And thinking beyond the borders and actually contacting our elected officials to let them know what's important for us. And then Linda, as always, the queen of networking and follow-up, had some really great advice about, you know, investing wisely in technology and looking at creative ways. I love, Linda, that you send a bottle of wine and at the end of the meeting, you can, you know, cheer each other. I think it's a really, really great and creative idea. So please join me in thanking our panelists. Thank you also to Susan, Consul General Susan Harper, for being with us. And we are just so happy that you participated. Remember that the team is here to help you. Our tagline, as Diane had reminded you, is we certify, we connect, and we champion women in business, right? So we want to use our connections to help you connect and grow your business. So I want to thank you for participating.
Bye-bye.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Everyone.